Hello everyone, I'm Arali, and today I want to talk about my next Elite Specialization Speculation for Guild Wars End of Dragons, which is going to be for the Mesmer. I have named this Elite Specialization the Enchanter. Now before I get into all the different mechanics and the weapon and skills and stuff like that, I want to talk about the purpose of the specialization. The Enchanter is going to be a healing based specialization. The Ranger had the Druid specialization, the Elementalist had the Water Magic line that kind of does that for them. So the Mesmer is going to get a healing line here. Now the Mesmer does have the Inspiration specialization, which does focus on healing and cleansing conditions and things like that, but this is going to be more of putting out heavy healing. The Inspiration line doesn't do that much healing really. It does it on shattering your illusions, and it does it on when you summon illusions and things like that. It does do it in a way where it gives you self-sustain, but it doesn't really do that much for your teammates. And I have tried to build a healer for Mesmer, but it doesn't really quite come out that well. So I want to just kind of clarify that before I go in. And so let's start with the mechanics. So now the Mesmer has their shatter skills. So the shatter skills would actually change, and they would, instead of doing damage or causing conditions, they would cleanse conditions or just do massive heal. And instead of running towards the enemy and just exploding right into the enemy's face, there's two things that could happen for the Enchanter. They could either have the shatters become ground targeted or have them shatter in place. So because they're doing healing or condition cleanse, it would probably be more beneficial having them be ground targeted. So that way, if you see that one of your teammates is in trouble, you can target your shatter skills on them depending on what they need. You know, you see they have a lot of conditions on them and they're dying because of that. You can hit your, let's say, F2 to send it over and cleanse conditions. Now, I didn't think of like specific shatter skills, but I'm just thinking like F1 does damage, so instead this one heals. F2 inflicts confusion, so instead it cleanses conditions. And then the distortion one could do a longer distortion, or maybe give it to all of your teammates if it doesn't already. I'm not 100% certain there, but yeah, and just kind of that kind of gives it like the groundwork to do some decent healing. And of course there are going to be some big healing numbers. You know, I'm talking about thousands of health of healing. Now the weapon for the Enchanter would be either a main hand dagger or even double dagger, so main hand dagger and offhand dagger. I would put a little twist on the dagger. So because we have a Mesmer, which is, you know, this illusionist mage, they could do long range damage. So they could summon these phantasmal daggers that they actually throw. And so I'm thinking of having the dagger be a 900 range, just a regular damage dealing weapon. We already have a condition based 900 range damage weapon for the Mesmer, which would be the scepter, and we have a 1200 range just damage weapon, which would be the greatsword, but we don't have a mid-range just pure damage one. So I think the dagger would be really fun, and the skill 3 on that could be a phantasm maybe that you summon, and once it turns into a clone it does massive healing maybe, or maybe it could actually, as its actual action, maybe splash out a healing wave or something like that, so to kind of give it more healing to the whole class. And then for the utility skills, the Enchanter could get Consecration Skills. Now those are only available to the Guardian, but Consecration Skills are based on like religious things, and you know, you mark something that's sacred, but I think it would really work having them as like cleansing fields or as boon fields that do things, but I would put a little twist on them. So instead of them being just simple AoE circles on the ground, have them be AoE circles, but they actually grow as the duration goes on. we have seen this effect with the druid line with the wyvern that you get, the wyvern pet, where the fire fields that it does, it expands. Now, we haven't really seen that in other skills. We have seen it for certain things that kind of grow outward a little bit for the for like fire skills and stuff like that, but we haven't really seen it as other skills that do it. And I think using consecration skills, it kind of, I think, would work with it, and that kind of, you know, over the duration they could grow, and they don't have to be incredibly massive. You know, they could go from the size that like maybe a symbol is to what like a meteor shower field is by the end of it. And of course they could do different things, give might, give healing, condition cleanse, you know, maybe do some cripple or something on enemies, depending on what they would call those. They could even have them like chill instead of, you know, consecration skills they kind of talk about a little bit of like fiery things. I mean, they're only on Guardian, and Guardian usually deals with like the blue fire stuff, so they could do like a little twist on it and do like chill field or something like that, you know. And then for traits, there was not a lot that I was thinking of. The Mesmer by itself already has very distinct, very different kind of traits. Really, in all different lines you get different things that interact with illusions. It's not really said like other classes. In other classes you get one line that does certain specific things and it interact with certain specific skills. On the Mesmer, pretty much all lines interact with all skills that you get. You know, a lot of them interact with the weapon skills you do, a lot of them interact with the phantasms or with the illusions that you do. So I think just having them do something that deals with healing, you know, pretty much do like an inspiration plus specialization trait line. You know, I think that would be something that would be interesting to see. Just something that, you know, works with what the elite specialization is trying to do, and even maybe interact with the shatter skills again and do different things, because there's certain traits that do interact with the shatter skills for the Mesmer class, but most of them add, you know, torment, or they do extra damage, you know, things like that. So if it could do some things where even on normal shatter skills that maybe don't necessarily do any healing or anything like that, like the distortion one, you know, give people boons or healing or something when you get out of distortion, give it some twist like that, you know, or every time your illusions transform into, or your phantasms transform into illusions, that they do some healing, things like that. I think there's a lot of different things that could come from that, so I think it would be very interesting to see. Now, in there were certain inspirations that I took for this class, or for this specialization. One of them was, of course, that we have Mesmers already that are called Enchanters, and there was also a utility skill that I kind of thought would maybe work, but I didn't know how to make it work. And this is kind of spoilery, but so if you don't want to hear about Season 3, you know, stop listening right now for the next minute or so. But we have Livia in Season 3 that uses enchantments on you, and it actually gives you, like, I believe it's like health regeneration or something that she gives you. And I was kind of thinking maybe we could do enchantments like we used to have in Guild Wars 1, because I was already thinking for the last video about hexes that we could bring back, so why not bring back enchantments too? But I didn't really think of like certain things you could do with it. Most of the things, just because the system of how the battle system is and things like that, kind of, they don't really work, because most of the things I thought of was just giving you health regeneration, and I couldn't really think, you know, or maybe do an interval on getting rid of conditions or something like that. But it didn't really seem fun or anything like that. But I kind of took that inspiration still from Guild Wars 1, where we used to have, you know, the Enchanter. Durham was the Enchanter henchman, and we have Ascalonian ghosts that are called enchanters and things like that. So that's kind of where the inspiration came from. And then I kind of took that and mixed it with Wendy from Fairy Tail, because she's also an enchanter and she heals the her friends and her guildmates and things like that. So I kind of took that and I was like, okay, well, if we have an enchanter, someone that enchants, maybe they could become a healer just like Wendy. So that's kind of where the mix of those things kind of came together, where the class kind of built itself on. You know, the dagger was just kind of thrown in there. I think that would be an interesting weapon to have for the Mesmer. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this Elite Specialization. As always, if you'd like to see more, there's other videos. I'm working on more, and once I'm done with this, I actually have plans for a couple of other videos that I'm going to do that are going to be lore related. So this is it from me today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.